So today we'll be making a yeast starter. This is my first video. I'm rather nervous. The reason we make a yeast starter is to culture up the yeast for brewing beer. We have 2 cups of water, which comes out to about 900 milliliters. I have half a cup of DME, light DME, and the darker stuff, I don't know if it comes up on camera or not, but it's a yeast nutrient, and that's 1 tablespoon of yeast nutrient. And we're going to start by adding our water to our pot. We're going to put on high heat to bring it to a boil, and we'll be back in a few minutes when that's boiling. A minute ago I said bring it to a boil. That would be incorrect. You want to go ahead while the water is heating up and add your DME and yeast nutrient before the steam occurs, because after the steam occurs you'll have a lot of sticking in your cup, and that ain't no good. So we're going to go ahead and add that. We'll get a spoon here or a whisk. I'm going to go with the whisk. We'll go ahead and start stirring that up. As this is heating up, you want to watch for boilovers. I mean, it won't happen right now, but it will eventually. All this is in preparation for our brew day tomorrow. We'll be brewing an all-grain batch of, I guess it's an American Amber, or an American Pale Ale. Haven't decided yet, but it's very tasty. I made this about 6 months ago, and it was awesome, so I decided to brew it again. So we'll be back in a few minutes when this is going. As you can see, this is starting to heat up now. In a minute you'll see that the foam will start to build, this layer of foam here, and it does have a tendency to boil over, so I'm going to continue to stir this. And if it does start to boil over, you want to take it off the heat immediately. Until we have what is known as the hot break. After the hot break occurs, you won't have to worry about boilovers anymore. And we're going to boil this for about 10 minutes. Earlier I said tablespoon of yeast nutrient. What I meant to say was teaspoon. So teaspoon, not the same. Alright, and it's now boiling, and you'll see the foam rise up. And what we're going to do is we're going to move that real quick. Let that kind of settle back down. Bring it back over the heat, and it'll rise again. And I'm going to wait. And I'm going to move it. Alright, I'm going to settle that back down. We're going to continue to do this until it no longer foams up anymore. I could probably do well is to, oh shit, it fogged up. Turn it down, turn my heat down a little bit. Probably medium high heat or so. Alright, and let's see. Yeah, oh, we're foaming back up still, so we're going to move that over. Alright, now you can see the foam is starting to fold over on itself, not rising up anymore. This is what's known as the hot break. And when this occurs, you don't really have to worry about boilovers anymore. And while this is going, we're going to enjoy some delicious homebrew out of my kegerator. This is what started as a beer to guard, but during some experimentation it changed to something else. Still is mighty tasty though, and in about 10 minutes we'll be right back. Okay, our 10 minutes is up and we're going to go ahead and cut the heat off. Move this over a little bit. I got my flask and my funnel ready. I did not sanitize the funnel because we're at boiling temperatures. An alternative to the method that I'm using is to boil inside the flask and you will sterilize the whole thing. I have found that boil overs, it's way too difficult for me, so I do it this way. So I'm going to take my pot and I'm going to funnel this in there. Also, the funnel seems to give it a bit of some aeration, which doesn't hurt anything as far as yeast production is concerned. Fogged up again. Alright, put that back over here. So now we have our flask of wort, if you will, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up an ice bath in my sink and I'm going to cool this down until it's cool to the touch. I'll be right back. Okay, I have my ice bath and it's still very, very hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of swirl this around so that way the liquid makes the most contact with the ice bath. I'm going to do this until it's cool to the touch. I may have said that already, but I don't know how to edit videos, so excuse redundancies. As you can see, it's very hot. The ice is already pretty much dissipated. There's a few chunks, but it's almost gone. And in a few minutes after this is cool, I'll be back and continue on with the process. Okay, so we're back and what we have is our wort in our flask and it's cool to the touch. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pitch my yeast, but before we do that, I have a 3 by 3 inch square roughly of aluminum foil, and I have my squirt bottle of Star San. I highly recommend Star San. It's good stuff. It's no rinse and it's pretty easy. So I'm just gonna, that and my scissors for cutting open the yeast packet. I'm using Safal US05. It's good yeast, nice and clean for this style of beer. So I'm just going to sanitize everything. Give it a good dose. I'm going to flip my scissors over. Go ahead and sanitize those. Also, the yeast packet. You cannot be too clean when it comes to making your beer. Making your beer, and especially when dealing with yeast. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that open here in a second. Try to do this with one hand. Go ahead and just get all the yeast in the bottom of the packet, kind of like sugar packet for your coffee. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut the top off. Just pour it on in. Alright. And we're going to take our aluminum foil, this means star sand. I'm just going to place it on top, clamp it over. Now you can see the yeast kind of just sitting on top here. Actually, the instructions for it's on the packet of the star sand say just sprinkle into wort. Online it says not to make a yeast starter. Not to make a yeast starter, but I plan on making 2 batches of beer out of 1 grain bill and 1 packet of yeast. I'm making a big beer. Well, I say big beer, but it's only a 7% alcohol, and I'm going to continue my sparge and make a smaller 2-gallon batch of beer from the same grain bill and the same yeast packet. So I decided to make a starter, and I've also decided to make this into a series, sort of like a starter and grain to glass all grain video series. Also, we use aluminum foil because it's not airtight, and when you're doing this you want oxygen to get into the wort because it encourages yeast growth. So what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of swirl this around a little bit, let the yeast settle in the bottom. You want the yeast to rehydrate. Online it says for this dry yeast to pitch it into some warm water, about 95 to 100 degree water, let it rehydrate, and then dump that into your fermenter. So, but after a while you will see this sort of, it'll be chunky at first, but it will rehydrate, and then we will have a yeast starter. Also, what was I going to say? Damn it, it just escaped me. Oh yeah, also we were supposed to take a gravity reading, but I haven't ever done that, and I've had good luck with it, so I don't bother with that. Home brewing to me is not so much of a science, but an adventure in experimentation. And so, as you see, we have yeast kind of stuck to the glass here along top, right here. And as the rest of this kind of falls into solution and rehydrates, I will swirl the glass about and get all that back down in there. So stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow mashing in some grains, enjoying more homebrew out of the kegerator, which you will see. Interesting story, but I'll share that tomorrow. And y'all have a good one. Okay, so we got our yeast pitched, and I just kind of shake it around like this. I don't have a stir plate, so every time I walk by, it's just in my kitchen, and every time I walk by I kind of give it a swirl about like that. That'll aerate your wort and your yeast and promote yeast growth, which is the whole point of this thing. You can see how milky, the milky appearance that it has. That's the yeast in solution. It's rehydrated, and in about an hour it will start bubbling and looking like a fermentation. That's pretty much what we're doing. If you've ever brewed beer before, you have made a yeast starter, just a gigantic 5-gallon version of it. So tomorrow, probably start about 10 a.m. brewing beer, and I won't pitch this until maybe about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So this will have time to do. You're supposed to do it like 24 to 36 hours beforehand, but whatever. It'll work. It has for me before several times. So I know I said goodbye before, but this is the last time for tomorrow. Also, please rate and subscribe. Comment also. Alright, y'all have a good one again. Bye bye.